Versus Jacksonville Jaguars, good, bad, and ugly. We're getting into all of that right now. And let's get into it. I am doing an intro on this bad boy. A lot of good, or not a lot of good. Some good, a lot of bad. We're going to get into it and talk. There's trends taking place. Let's get into those trends. Let's get into this right now. So, right off the bat, we're going to start with Teddy Bridgewater. He was 5 for 11, 34 yards, average of 3.1, 0 tuds, 0 interceptions. It's hard to really judge Teddy Bridgewater. He had some good passes in there, dropped some good, passes that he made, I thought, especially over the shoulder that was dropped by the receiver there. He made one bad pass initially, one of the first drives that he had. The problem is, and he had a fumble too, the problem is the offensive line was atrocious. And during that fumble, he didn't even give the football to Craig Reynolds. The defender was already on him. And that's the problem here with the backup offensive line. Absolutely atrocious. This is now 2 weeks in a row. The backup offensive line is a problem. And at this point, I'm not sure what the remedy is. They will have to acquire talent when other teams, in my opinion, cut down to the 53, or maybe they trade a player, something like that. Matt Nelson is not an NFL starting tackle. He got roasted, beat up, thrown to the ground. It is so difficult to watch and cringeworthy watching this man play on the offensive line. Just an absolute terrible, terrible player. He's no way I feel like this guy can be on the 53-man roster. Absolutely not. Such a problem with the Lions' backup offensive line. Let me know in the comment section right now. Grade the backup offensive line for Detroit, 1 through 10. 1 being suck, 10 being great. I'm going at 1. I think it's really bad. The starting offensive line, we're talking 10 out of 10. Backup, 1 out of 10. It's crazy how different they are, but that's what I got for the backup offensive line. Running game, I thought Craig Reynolds did all right, 8 for 13. It was an average of 1.6, but again, it was the bad offensive line. He also caught a couple passes there, 4 for 29. And I think he's a lock to be the number 3 running back for the Detroit Lions. I truly, truly do. Jamar Jefferson had 6 carries for 16 yards and 2 for 8 in receiving. He is battling out with Snell right now for RB4, and it's going to be intriguing to watch in preseason game 3 who gets the better of it, because I think it's these two battling it out right now. I think that's what they got going on. I still like Snell. Personally, that's my personal preference when it comes to the running back position, but you just don't know how it's going right now. But, those guys are battling it out. I thought Jamar Jefferson played all right, and Snell played all right, given the circumstances there. I thought they did decent. Nate Sudfeld, we're going to go with the backup here. 9 for 18, 80 yards, a touchdown interception. He could have had another interception. Sudfeld is a problem, and I don't think he's making this team. He can throw some decent passes, but then out of nowhere, an errant throw that's way off target. I mean, the interception he threw was 2 feet ahead of his target, and it went right into the defender's hands. That is not accuracy. You cannot be like that in the NFL. You don't know what he's going to do. You can't trust him when you have no idea what he's going to do. There's zero consistency with Nate Sudfeld. None. You got to have some sort of consistency. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see Martinez out there, and he's probably not making the roster. Maybe we don't think anybody really thought he's making the roster, but the practice squad, we'll see there. But Sudfeld is not an NFL caliber quarterback. Absolutely not. Let's get into the offense here. Chase Cota is the real deal. Chase Cota, he did good in special teams, in which that's important when you're making as wide receiver 6. Not only that, but he's so reliable. The guy catches everything. He had a catch that was ruled incomplete that went into the out of bounds. That was magnificent by Teddy Bridgewater. He caught it even though it was not considered a catch. Chase Cota catches everything. Got a touchdown there. In my opinion, right now, Chase Cota's got to be the number 6 wide receiver. Dylan Drummond, all the hype for him in training camp. And he's been absolutely nothing but a dud. Dropped 2 or 3 passes in this game. He only had 2 for 29 yards. That's unacceptable. You cannot drop that many passes. He dropped passes last week. He dropped passes this week. There's a consistency there. He may be good in training camp, may be fast, but he can't do it under the lights. And if he can't do it under the lights, you can't make the football team. In my opinion, he's in the outside looking in. Antoine Green was 1 for 18. He looked good with his 1 reception. It's hard to really tell, but Antoine Green's in the mix as well. James Mitchell, 2 for 15. Again, James Mitchell continues to be a solid tight end for the Lions. He did well last week. He did well this week. So we're seeing consistency from James Mitchell. A good tight end. I think the Lions tight end group's pretty damn good. Right now you got Laporta, James Mitchell, and Broad. So I think we're good there. I think we are good there. For sure. But let me know in the comment section, who is the MVP for the Detroit Lions offense? Put any name you want to put in there. I'm going to go Cota, Chase Cota. That's who I think what the MVP was. He just continues to get open. He continues to touch everything. He doesn't drop the football. It's magnificent to watch. I really like it. Let's go ahead and transform to the Lions defense. I thought they did good except for the very end. Folks, these guys were on the field the whole time. The offense couldn't do anything. The defense was out on the field the whole time. I thought John Kaminsky, probably MVP of the defense, did really good, just consistently disrupting, knocking balls down, tackling. John Kaminsky is a great piece to the Lions defensive line. I love seeing him. He's on the sideline coaching it up with the backups. He's a solid vet. He's going to be doing good for the Detroit Lions. I thought that Isaiah Buggs was not out there. He was chilling. I thought that he had a great necklace. If you've seen it on there, it's blinging. But let's get back to this game. Couple players stood out to me. Jack Campbell, again, really good. Solid day. All he does is tackle. Jack Campbell, a solid player, and he's going to be really good for the Detroit Lions. I thought Malcolm Rodriguez did all right from the linebacking group. The Aquara brothers were really nowhere to be seen. There was a sack by Julian that was called back due to a penalty. Other than that, you didn't really see him at all. That's the problem with Julian Aquara, is he's inconsistent. Really good last week, inconsistent here. And he did a missed tackle on the run that was about a 15-yard gain. Terrible play by Julian Aquara. He just could not wrap the guy up. Could not do it. Not good to see, because you got to have to be able to stop the run. The guy just couldn't wrap him up. So good last week, bad this week. Inconsistent for Julian. A lot of good in the corner position. Really, really good. Gilmore, amazing. I thought he was fantastic. Now, he did get it was like a 25-yard completion against him, but he was all over the receiver. It was a magnificent throw and a better catch. He was on the receiver the whole time. He got an interception. He's fast. He has a chance to make this roster. One of the 53. I thought he did really well. Thomas, corner, did really well. Fast as well, knocked the football down. Those guys are battling it out right now to make the roster, and it could be a point where they get over Chase Lucas and Will Harris. Will Harris played bad again. Will Harris sucks. No way, in my opinion, can you have Will Harris over those two guys, Gilmore and Thomas. Thomas and Gilmore has got to be above them at this point. They've done a phenomenal job. Tracy Walker, he did knock the ball up for Gilmore to get the interception. He made a bad play, made a good play. And talking about him in the second, third strings, folks, that's where it's at right now. Brian Branch is your starter out there. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, your starter. Kirby Joseph, your starter. Tracy Walker's with the twos. He's got a way to go, and it's not bad on Tracy Walker. It's just I think the talent is so good that he legitimately is a backup. I mean, Kirby, Branch, and CJ are really good. So it's not really a knock on him, but he was out there. We didn't get to really see any sort of field goal battle yet in the kicking battle because We only had 1 extra point. So that's going to continue on till next week. Hopefully the Lions offense can pick it up a little bit so we can see some. We need to know who's going to be the kicker. I think that's really important. Lions special teams, really good in coverage like always. They continue to be really good. And that's been a strength for the Lions team for years, and it continues to be a strength. It really does. And, look, you need all 3 phases to be good. At the end, the Lions defense was sucking wind, and they were getting beat up. But we're talking 3rd and 4th strings. I was seeing players in there I don't even know who the name was. So that's one of those deals where it's like, does it really matter? They're not making the team anyways. Lions got to get better with the backup offensive line. My biggest takeaway, backup offensive line. Jesus Christ, get out there and do something because we cannot allow this to continue. MVP for the Lions defense. How about John Kaminsky? I'll go John Kaminsky. I thought he did a really good job. He's such a good player. Really good to see for him to continue to be and he's going to be an integral part to the Lions defensive line rotation. Make no mistake about it. That is absolutely the case. So good for him for sure. Absolutely amazing. All in all, preseason 2 was a bummer, especially if you're watching it, but just because you don't win a game doesn't mean really anything. We're looking at specific players, and I think we have a good feeler of who's in and who's out. Now we're starting to see a trend, and I think that's really important. Really, really important. And we got the trend going. It's going to be good to watch for sure. Folks, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Continue to grow the channel. With your help, it can happen. Hit that notification bell. Hit that like button. Why? Because it does help the channel out. It does do a good job for me and pushes the content out there. Adios.